And he got left out on a limb and somehow still had to create his way out of that. He was just really a one in a billion type person. I was lucky to know him.
In business, nothing is coincidental, or you would be hearing who's losing money. In all of these situations, it's only the artist that's losing. Somebody makes big money.
The relationship became fragile.
Okay.
Because Paul Mooney had Rich's son by that time.
Okay.
And he violated.
Katt Williams is back with another bombshell, which is about none other than the legendary Richard Pryor. Apparently, he has suspected that Richard Pryor's death was not a sudden death, rather it was planned. However, nobody knew about it, but Katt Williams is now all here to tell you the real truth. Katt Williams has risen as a prominent whistleblower, exposing the concealed truths beneath the glamorous exterior of the Hollywood industry. With unwavering determination, Katt has persistently revealed eye-opening revelations that are causing ripples throughout the entertainment world.
And the fact of the matter is, we watched this get right in front of our own face. And the knew it was finna happen. He told us, and we didn't know.
Alongside his disclosures regarding the purported conspiracy surrounding Michael Jackson's death, Katt Williams has also been outspoken about challenging the representation of black actors donning feminine attire within the entertainment industry.
And it might also be said that there's nothing funnier than a black guy in a dress. Okay, well.
Unhesitant to delve into controversial subjects that may discomfort some, Katt Williams has openly addressed issues that have seemingly incurred the displeasure of certain factions within the industry. Multiple incidents indicate that Hollywood might be actively seeking to distance itself from Katt, possibly in response to his unwavering and unyielding stance on these matters.
Why? Because you know ain't nobody gonna sleep with him. You only got Tiffany Haddish. She been doing comedy since she was 16.
You often hear that truly understanding the inner workings of an industry requires first-hand experience. Comedian Katt Williams recently provided some intriguing insights that shed light on this notion. Williams hinted at significant revelations concerning many black artists' careers.
Those are just facts, sir.
How many is that total?
9.
So you've done 9
Yeah.
filmed comedy stand-up specials.
Without ever getting financed or having a deal.
Katt's disclosure about his former idol might be surprising to some, but the subsequent revelation is even more shocking. He asserted that Steve Harvey, a favorite among many, has purportedly made a deal involving his soul with Hollywood.
Think Steve Harvey some stand-up man. I'm a kiss old girl who owned TV1. He used to kiss her. That's how he had the radio.
Undoubtedly, Katt Williams is widely recognized as one of the funniest comics of his generation, celebrated for his unfiltered humor and dynamic performances in hit stand-up specials. Despite his talent and status among Hollywood's comedy elites, Williams hasn't attained the same level of mainstream exposure as some of his peers. A supporter noted, unlike Kevin Hart, he hasn't embraced leading roles in blockbuster movies, and he doesn't host a show like Steve Harvey. Being hopeless, he once even said, "I'm just going to go ahead and announce my retirement from stand-up. I'm kinda done. I've already discussed it with my kids. I wasn't really going to do it on a Seattle street. I was going to Los Angeles and do it in the offices of ICM or Live Nation." For a while, there were rumors suggesting that Williams had been blacklisted from the industry, prompting inquiries into why he hadn't reached the same level of success as figures such as Steve Harvey. It's noteworthy that Williams and Harvey have had a strained relationship for over a decade, and there appears to be a substantial reason behind their ongoing discord.
Well, you know, to be honest with you, Frankie, I didn't know nothing about this concept. When the promoter told me about it in October, I shot it down. Because that ain't how I've ever promoted a show.
To trace the origins of their feud, we must revisit December 2008 when Katt Williams publicly criticized Steve Harvey before a Christmas season show. This incident marked the initiation of their conflict, which has endured for over a decade. It's worth noting that both Katt Williams and Steve Harvey have been involved in disagreements with other comedians, and this particular instance was no exception. According to Katt Williams, Steve Harvey's reputation may not be as positive as it appears to some. Depending on who you speak to, Harvey is either celebrated as one of the funniest individuals on the planet or viewed as a celebrity with a less than stellar reputation. Williams has claimed that Harvey has some skeletons in his closet, including rumors of mistreatment towards his staff. Persistent rumors have circulated regarding the renowned comedian and talk show host not treating his staff well. Moreover, after his talk show relocated to Los Angeles, Harvey allegedly sent a controversial memo to his new staff, making demands typically associated with tour writers. These allegations have contributed to the existing tension between between the two comedians.
And I could not find a way to walk from the stage to my dressing room, to sit in my makeup chair, to walk from my dressing room to the stage.
Katt Williams appears to have legitimate reasons for his grievances against Steve Harvey. In November 2015, the Think Like a Man author faced a lawsuit for allegedly reneging on plans to lease a private jet. This occurred after over $400,000 worth of renovations had been initiated, reportedly at Harvey's request. The requested enhancements included custom carpet, a reconfiguration of the interior cabin from 16 seats to 14 seats, custom seat design, and new upper and lower cabin sidewalls, according to TMZ reports.
According to a private jet company, he did not pay the bill.
This is a fabulous story.
After they customized the hell out of the thing for him.
Williams has also alleged that Harvey, who starred as a high school music teacher on 1996's The Steve Harvey Show, lifted the premise of his show from comedian Mark Curry. Curry starred as teacher Mark Cooper on the sitcom Hangin' with Mr. Cooper, which debuted in 1992. The same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had, Williams said. Now, Steve got a sitcom where he's the principal and he wears a suit. Williams also dismissed Harvey's acting chops, skewering Harvey's claim that he didn't want to pursue a film career. "You couldn't be a movie star," Williams said. "There are 30,000 new scripts in Hollywood every year. Not one of them asks for a country bumpkin black dude that can't talk good and look like Mr. Potato Head. There ain't none. You have to have range." What's shocking in all this is that reportedly Katt has received death threats after this and even is being blackballed from the industry, and he thinks that the same may have happened to Richard Pryor as well. It was observed when he was seen to be stuck in controversies during his career, and one such was his alleged planned hit on Paul Mooney and his alleged affairs with men. Richard Pryor has definitely gained worldwide respect because of his sincere work. However, just one wrong move and you hit someone's hate list. Seems like something similar happened to Richard. Well, there was this biopic about Richard Pryor in the works, and Mike Epps was supposed to play him. But things got messy real quick. Turns out Pryor's widow accused Epps of disrespecting her late husband. And just like that, the movie went from highly anticipated to full-on drama. You must be curious about what just happened between them? Well, hold tight because you are about to find out.
Oh, she gonna sue me. You're going to people's court.
People's court. People's court. I ain't
Don't.
So, after totally in his audition, actor-comic Mike Epps shot to the top of the list to play Richard Pryor in Lee Daniels' biopic at the Weinstein Company. Daniels was hanging out at TWC headquarters, checking out a bunch of young actors like Epps, Michael B. Jordan, Marlon Wayans, and Nick Cannon. And rumor had it that Kate Hudson and Anne Hathaway were in the mix for Pryor's widow, Jennifer Lee Pryor. Imagine what a big deal it is for these guys to land the role of someone they idolized growing up, and later rock the stage like him. It must have been extra special for Epps and Wayans since they were supposed to play Pryor in earlier versions of the movie that never panned out.
How you feel about doing that?
Well, you know what? I'm really humbly scared. You know, I'm really fearful, but in a humble way.
In the previous version of the legendary comic story, Wayans had snagged the role when Sony was set to produce with Bill Condon directing and Adam Sandler's Happy Madison producing. Epps actually scored the gig back in 2005, while Pryor was still around and actively involved in the project with his wife through Indigo Productions. Back then, Walter Hill, known for helming Eddie Murphy's breakout role in 48 HRS, was slated to direct and co-write the script. When Epps found out the Pryors had chosen him, he was floored. "I met Richard and felt like I was in Oz the whole time," Epps said. "It's hard to describe what he means to me or any stand-up comic. You could say he's paid the dues for everything we do up there." The Pryors had experienced various attempts at bringing the film to life, including one that would have starred Damon Wayans, Marlon's brother. They opted for Epps because they were looking for an actor who hadn't already been labeled a huge star. By then, Pryor, who was battling multiple sclerosis and confined to a wheelchair, passed away in 2005. His widow endured the disappointment of seeing each iteration of the movie gain traction only to ultimately collapse.
Recently, Jennifer Lee Pryor spoke with Comedy Hype to promote the re-release of 3 Richard Pryor vinyl records. Jennifer also gave us an update on the long-awaited Richard Pryor biopic.
Things didn't exactly improve for Epps right after that. He moved on to play sewer worker Ed Norton alongside Cedric the Entertainer's Ralph Cramden in a somewhat ill-advised remake of The Honeymooners. But it seemed like Daniels and TWC were determined to get this movie made. When Epps was first hired, Jennifer Pryor explained, "The material is larger than life, and you need someone to fit into it who's not extraordinarily famous, or else it would be like Al Jolson playing Malcolm X. Richard and I saw Mike's stand-up, and there is a dangerous edge, a Richard-esque quality about him. An insider warned that no definite decision had been made yet, but Epps was definitely leading the pack, with Wyan still in the running. Jordan's audition impressed, but they felt he might be a tad too young to convincingly portray Pryor in his later years. In an interview, Epps revealed his biggest fear about taking on the role of Richard Pryor. He expressed concern about being criticized for not meeting people's expectations of how Pryor should be portrayed and for tapping into the complexity of the iconic comedian. Epps acknowledged that portraying Pryor would require delving into dark places in his own life, a sacrifice he was willing to make to do justice to the role. He emphasized Pryor's multifaceted personality, from his education and romantic side to his streetwise persona and vulnerability, which added layers to the character. Epps highlighted Pryor's incredible voice, even mentioning seeing a clip of him singing and being amazed by his talent.
I'm stepping into some shoes that were really, really big, you know, to fill. And Richard Pryor, of course, we all know, man, he really was the bridge. He was really, really hip-hop.
Epps also mentioned that some of Richard Pryor's surviving family members don't support the film. He believed that his daughter, Rain Pryor, and a couple of other family members disagreed with him playing the role. However, Epps asserted that as an actor for hire, he prioritized his own life and career over anyone else's opinions. He emphasized that even if he wasn't chosen for the role, he would continue with his career without letting it affect him personally. Epps expressed frustration at the uncertainty surrounding the casting, especially when he heard rumors about other actors like Marlon Wayans and Nick Cannon potentially taking on the role. Despite the challenges, Epps felt a strong connection to Pryor and believed that he was destined to portray him.
Let me tell you something, bro. The lady told me that night, "You're not ready to play Richard." I said,
However, it seems like Reihard's widow was speculative from the very beginning. Things got even more complicated when recently Mike made some horrible claims. Mike Epps clarified on the latest episode of the All the Smoke podcast that he wouldn't be portraying Richard Pryor in a potential biopic. He mentioned that there was some miscommunication or speculation regarding his involvement and suggested that it might have stemmed from an incident where he rejected the romantic advances of Pryor's widow, Jennifer Lee Pryor.
yeah, I was gonna play Richard Pryor, man, and then his wife, I didn't screw his wife, his ex-wife, and she got mad.
It's worth noting that Mike Epps recently portrayed the comedy legend Richard Pryor in HBO's Winning Time, the rise of the Lakers dynasty series. Unfortunately, this project never materialized due to Daniels shifting his focus to the TV series Empire.
Because Richard Pryor, when in the heck are we gonna see this biopic?
It was a Weinstein Company project, so you might not see that one. You know what I mean?
At the time of the announcement, Epps had tweeted a photo of himself kissing Lee Pryor's ring, indicating that she had given her for him to portray her late husband in the film. Despite the project not coming to fruition, Epps clearly had the support of Pryor's widow. According to Epps, things took a turn for the worse when he refused advances from Lee Pryor. Allegedly, she retorted, "You're not going to play Richard. You didn't spank this A." I declined and said, "Nope, I'm not portraying Richard Pryor then," Epps recounted, expressing concern over potential legal repercussions. In a 2019 interview with the Daily Beast, Lee Pryor mentioned that the biopic was contemplating casting an unknown actor for Pryor's role after the Daniels-Weinstein project collapsed. All Harvey was good for was making grand announcements, she remarked. It was essentially a lot of nonsense in the end. Epps elaborated further on the show, recalling the incident with candor. "I attended Richard Pryor's funeral, man," he revealed. "That night, the lady had the audacity to tell me I wasn't ready to portray Richard. I said, 'Screw you, lady.' He expressed confidence in his suitability for the role, emphasizing, 'I truly believe I was meant for that part.' Continuing, he explained, 'I'll tell you what I told her. I have immense respect for Richard Pryor, but my kids, they don't know him. They know me. So I'm as good as Richard Pryor was. He was phenomenal. But these kids, they know who Mike Epps is." Acknowledging Pryor as his OG, Epps conveyed his reverence for the late comedian while acknowledging the passage of time. "That's my mentor. I cherish him. But times have changed," he concluded. Jennifer Lee Pryor, widow of the late comedy icon Richard Pryor, has swiftly responded to Mike Epps' assertions that his refusal refusal to engage in a S relationship with her led to him losing the opportunity to portray Pryor in his biopic. Epps aired these claims during an episode of the All the Smoke podcast, stating, "I was set to portray Richard Pryor and then his wife. I didn't sleep with his wife, his ex-wife, and she got upset." Lee Pryor vehemently refuted these allegations in a phone conversation with the Daily Beast on Friday. "That's utterly baseless," she asserted while observing the remarks made by Epps on YouTube. She continued, expressing her disdain. "Your remarks are simply vulgar, Mike." Epps's exclusion from consideration for the role of Pryor in the biopic was primarily due to him being deemed unsuitable for the part as he had aged out, clarified Lee Pryor. She remarked, "I'm certain he's heard about it through the grapevine." Subsequently, the biopic project fell through when Lee Daniels withdrew to concentrate on Empire. Lee Pryor disclosed to the Daily Beast that she is presently collaborating on the film project with Kenya Barris, the creator of Blackish. "We're still in the process of casting," she noted. Furthermore, Lee Pryor expressed her dissatisfaction with Epps's portrayal in HBO's Winning Time, the Rise of the Lakers Dynasty series. She criticized, "He depicted Richard like a destitute D addict. It was dreadful." Lee Pryor, who manages her late husband's estate, clarified Epps's limited experience in portraying Pryor. "Mike has only portrayed Richard in a few minor roles in movies and films," she stated. That's the extent of his portrayal of Richard. Regarding Epps's claim of her alleged interest in him romantically, Lee Pryor vehemently denied it, declaring, "I wouldn't even consider such a thing." Lee Pryor further refuted Epps's claims that she had informed him he was not prepared to portray Richard, as he alleged recently. Additionally, Lee Pryor addressed Epps's remarks concerning Pryor's funeral, correcting inaccuracies. "Richard was indeed in the casket, if we really need to delve into such morbid details," she clarified, "and he was cremated afterward." Regarding Epps's involvement at the funeral, Lee Pryor recalled the moment she invited him to speak. "He was wearing sunglasses, and when he got up to speak, he said, 'I don't even know why I'm here.' That moment is etched in my memory," she recounted. However, when it was revealed that Mike is going to play Richard's man, many controversies started to lurk for Richard's controversies, and mainly his alleged relationship with Marlon Brando, which was reportedly later confirmed by Lee also.
Didn't they say that he f***ed everybody, men and women?
Oh yeah, he banged everybody.
He f***ed everybody.
Yeah, and then it came out he was banging the guy with the cube.
That's right.
The internet was abuzz with excitement when a new biography about Marlon Brando cast the iconic The Godfather actor in a fresh perspective, unveiling his unconventional romantic pursuits within the realm of Hollywood. The biography, titled Brandon Unzipped and authored by Darwin Porter, asserts that the Academy Award-winning actor, who identified as BS, had intimate relationships with various men in the industry. Speculations about Marlon Brando's HS relationships had long circulated, and the legendary actor eventually confirmed these aspects of his personal life. Brando was known not only for his connections with leading actresses of his time, but also for his unconventional romantic entanglements. Recently, veteran music producer Quincy Jones and comedian Richard Pryor's widow, Jennifer Lee, disclosed that Brando had been involved in a relationship with Pryor.
Jones casually mentioned that Brando once had sex with Pryor as well as a couple other famous men.
Speculations regarding Marlon Brando's BIS had been circulating for years, despite his remarkable achievements in becoming one of the finest actors of his generation. In fact, in 1976, Brando spoke out about his S and said, "Homos is so much in fashion, it no longer makes news. Like a large number of men, I too have had homos experiences, and I am not ashamed." So was Marlon Brando with Richard. Brando openly acknowledged having both heteros and homos relationships throughout his lengthy and unpredictable career in Hollywood. Recent interviews with veteran music producer Quincy Jones and comedian Richard Pryor's widow, Jennifer Lee, have once again brought the spotlight onto his complex and diverse S.
"It's a surprise," he said. "We went straight to the Comedy Store, and he got on stage. When he got on stage and I saw what he did."
Ever since Quincy Jones first alleged in 2018 that Richard Pryor and Marlon Brando had a S relationship back in the day, the internet has been ablaze trying to determine if the music icon was being facetious or letting the world in on a decades-long secret. But with confirmations and denials coming from both Pryor and Brando's family members, the mystery is only continuing to grow. And while the truth may never be clear, let's take a look back at both sides of the story. Quincy Jones didn't pull back any and said something about Brando. Jones was the first to claim that the legendary duo had a S relationship, telling Vulture in a wide-ranging interview that he was the most charming MF you ever met. He'd F anything. He'd F a mailbox. James Baldwin, Richard Pryor, Marvin Gaye, Marlon Brando, and Richard Pryor. That's right. In the same interview, Quincy Jones made a series of sensational claims, including that he possessed knowledge about the real identity of John F. Kennedy's assassin, had dated Ivanka Trump, and asserted that Michael Jackson had stolen music at some point in his career.
Because he was so smart and intuitive, you know. He just hooked on to everything, and he watched everybody. James Brown, Fred Astaire, Sammy Davis.
The speculations got more strong when Jennifer, the widow of Richard Pryor, confirmed the rumor, sharing with TMZ that her late husband was always candid about his BIS among friends and had no qualms about the public revelation of his relationship with Brando. She mentioned that the comedy icon extensively documented his encounters with men in diaries, which she intends to release later this year. It was the 70s. D were still good, especially Quaaludes, Jennifer said. If you did enough C, you'd a radiator and send it flowers in the morning. She also noted that she thinks Pryor would be having a good laugh if he heard Jones had spread the news. During the world premiere screening of the documentary I Am Richard Pryor at South by Southwest, Jennifer Lee Pryor, who was married to the actor-comedian Richard Pryor twice, mentioned that her late husband had no shame about his affair with actor Marlon Brando.
And it was kind of surprising how open she was, but she said Richard had no shame in this either, and he was actually very... She also kind of said that, you know what, it was the 70s, that's when the were still good.
Jennifer also revealed that Richard had a dalliance with a transgender woman, but his interest waned after she underwent gender confirmation surgery. She also noted that his stand-up routines often delved into his encounters with men.
And these guys were artists, so they were more than willing to experiment with different things, and she said he'd be laughing if he heard that report came out today.
During a 1977 gay rights benefit show at the Hollywood Bowl, he openly stated, "I have sucked it." However, he later grew hostile toward the audience, pointing out the lack of black attendees and highlighting the differences in the challenges faced by blacks and the LGBTQ+ community. He used offensive language to discuss the racial tensions, mentioning the N-word and the F-word, and criticized individuals for their alleged racial prejudice, contrasting their activities on Hollywood Boulevard with the racial unrest occurring in Los Angeles' Watts neighborhood. While the words were delivered angrily, Jennifer said she understood Richard's point. He was admitting that, hey, I'm kind of one of you, not necessarily one of you, but I know the party. I know what happens. I'm down, she told The Beast. Shortly after these revelations, Rain, the daughter of Richard Pryor and his second wife, Shelley Bonus, vehemently denied the alleged affair. She expressed her feelings in an impassioned Facebook post, strongly criticizing both Quincy Jones and Pryor's widow, referring to them as bottom feeders. All you who touted faux news and preach about wanting blacks to be represented in a great light, and then posted Q's interview are irrelevant and full of your own BS, Rain wrote. Q was once a brilliant music producer who is losing his mind and decided to garner publicity for himself with a sensationalized interview. And because y'all think and equate fame and money with decency, you ate it up like thirsty dogs as he spewed out a lie about my father who's not here to defend himself. Then on top of it all, my dad's so-called widow validated it because she needs to keep legitimizing herself and tarnish our dad even after he's dead, Rain continued. Rain ended her note, letting her fans know that she wouldn't be putting up with hearing the news and would be getting my millions the correct way, with integrity. Y'all so thirsty and love them but ever know the real source or full story? And you're gonna wonder how 45 became president? Wake up, she wrote. So read this. I don't need you as a fan or a friend. I don't need anyone in my life that thinks a sensationalized interview is relevant and incredibly well done, Rain added. People who lie or share information to raise themselves up are bottom feeders no matter how much money or influence they have. Wrong is still wrong. #GTFOH. Marlon Brando's son, Miko, also contested the claims of a S relationship between his father and Richard Pryor. He conveyed to TMZ that his family felt disappointed upon learning about these rumors.
Marlon Brando's son is now saying that his father did not bang Richard Pryor.
Miko, Marlon Brando's eldest surviving son, expressed the family's disappointment in response to Quincy Jones' recent remarks. He conveyed their dismay over the wrongful comments made about both Marlon Brando Brando and Richard Pryor.
Because the father's not going to tell his son, guess who I banged?
He would have had to say to his son, guess who I didn't bang, which had never happened.
The notion of Brando and Pryor being involved romantically may indeed appear scandalous, but it's essential to consider that both men had tumultuous love lives during their respective eras. Richard Pryor, widely acknowledged as one of the most influential stand-up comedians of all time, had a complex romantic history. He entered into matrimony 7 times with 5 different women. Jennifer, who shared the revelation of his BIS, was both his 4th and 7th wife. They initially married in August 1981, divorced in October 1982, and later reunited in 2001. Their union endured until Pryor's passing in 2005.
He was always moving. And by that I mean, certainly if not physically, mentally. He was always,
Pryor also had romantic associations with actresses Pam Grier and Margot Kidder, along with one notable relationship with a queen who he likened to Josephine Baker. He described the affair in his autobiography, writing, "I discovered that she was actually a he. For some reason, I didn't care. But after 2 weeks of being gay, I went back to life as a heteros." However, on the other hand, for Marlon, you could fill a small library with details and rumors from his private life. The Studley movie star was known as a womanizer. He engaged in numerous affairs with women and occasionally men. Pryor had been married 7 times throughout his life, to 5 different women. Notably, he and Lee Pryor tied the knot twice, initially from 1981 to 1982, and then again from 2001 until his passing in 2005. Following Quincy Jones' interview with Vulture, where he made controversial remarks about Pryor's alleged intimate encounters with Marlon Brando, Lee Pryor offered her perspective on the matter. Speaking to TMZ, she stated that Pryor would find Jones' comments amusing, without any sense of shame.
Jennifer Lee also spoke on Mike Epps' previous performance as Richard Pryor in the HBO series Winning Time, where she called the impression a bad imitation that reduced Richard to a caricature.
So according to Katt, he was never into such things and was forcefully introduced to such things. One person wrote, "Katt been putting these people on blast, but people aren't listening. They think it's just jokes. They tried silencing him by making him look crazy, but we know the truth." Another one added, "This is why Katt is my fav. He never sold his soul." That's it for today. Goodbye.